watching the Gopher Coaches Show.
Welcome into another installment of the Gopher Coaches Show. I'm Ahmad Hicks alongside my partner Justin Gaard and head women's basketball coach Dawn Plitzuweit. So, Coach, it's been a while since we've seen each other. How's everything going? How was your Christmas?
It was wonderful. It really was. We had a great opportunity. Our first semester in classes went extremely well. We had two young ladies at the 4.0. I think at least 9 of our players are over a 3.5.
Wow.
We don't have a team GPA calculated quite yet, but
pretty high, it sounds like.
Pretty high, yes. We did really, really well. And then after finals were over, we had, before our last game on the road at Drake, we had a great evening together, went out to dinner and listened to the Minnesota Orchestra. We're learning a lot about how orchestras orchestrate greatness and excellence together, and watch the Nutcracker. So then went into our last game and then to Christmas, and then came back and certainly getting going, and now we're in the grind of the Big Ten season.
Seems like the vibes are high right now for the Gopher women's basketball program, and the production is also high. Last night you guys took on Indiana. It was a close game at halftime, and then you guys just ran away with it in the second half. What did you say during your halftime speech?
Well, I thought we were doing a lot of good things in the first half. We had to clean up a couple areas. Scoring the ball efficiently is one that we have to continue working on. And so what we talked about is our last 3 possessions going into the half, we had it figured out. We took a little more time. We kind of drew a little more contact around the rim, double pumped a little bit, just kind of gathered ourselves a little bit better. On the defensive end, thought that we started to really address ball screens and help coverage the way we really wanted to. And so we wanted to build off of that moving into the third quarter, and certainly played well in the third quarter.
Well, I'm intrigued now about the orchestra thing, because
okay, we're going backwards.
Well, we're going backwards, but not really, because your team has an orchestra or band or almost Broadway type feel, in that everybody seems like they have a role. Right. Everybody understands their role, and everybody's roles can be different. Amaya Battle has not scored very much this season. She's been rebounding. Last night she's got 20 points and is very aggressive. Grace Groholski barely scored last night. She had 31 against Maryland. So I guess what I'm asking is, what's it like having that kind of depth where it can be anybody's solo that night in the orchestra? You can just point and say, it's your turn.
You know, you should really introduce this to our team, because that's really the reason behind.
I've got a lot of ideas, yeah.
Right, yeah. And that's really the point behind it, is that there are certain times when each player or each section of the orchestra, in our case, and it has to step up and play a different role, do something, sometimes in the background, sometimes as a solo kind of. And so we're seeing that with this team, and that's really what we believe this team has as a major strength, is that every game provides you different opportunities, and you have to capitalize on those. And I thought we were able to do that through the course of our game at Indiana.
Unfortunately, you're missing a piece of the orchestra, because Taylor Woodson got hurt since we've last done a television show. It's nice that she's back around the team. It seems like she's got the same attitude she had a year ago, but how tough was that just for her, and then obviously everybody else?
Yeah, that's incredibly, incredibly tough. Although I will say this about Taylor Woodson, 2 things. One, she is an incredible young lady. She is approach this exactly the way you want to approach it. She's getting better physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of it. And I think her teammates are doing a great job of supporting her through all of it as well.
When you have a player that suffers back-to-back injuries to end their seasons, what's something you say to them as a coach to kind of help them get out of the dumps, if she was in the dumps?
Well, I think there are a lot of different things that we do, whether that's sending little songs, sending little messages, those type of things. But I think ultimately there's a time period, whether it's a day or so, that you've got to figure out that process of, this sucks. This is not a whole lot of fun. It is, and you have to go through that, because if you never go through that, that's kind of hard too. Right. And then it's the overcomer mentality of what that's going to look like. And so you get about 24 hours. It's a 24-hour grace period for me. And then it's the overcomer stretch, and then it's the comeback kid, and it's those type of messages. And she will be that. It's going to be an incredible story. Can't wait to see that.
Understood. Now, earlier this season, you guys were rolling at home. Then you brought in a Maryland team, a ranked Maryland team. You guys had that game, I felt like. What are some of the overall takeaways from that game? I mean, I know there's no such thing as a good loss, but I felt like that was a good loss for you guys early on in the season.
Well, I think we go back and we looked at decision-making throughout the course of the entire game, and what does that look like, and just how the game kind of flows together. You know, how if we take a tougher shot on one end of the court, it usually ended up, because Maryland's one of the best scoring teams in the country, they scored on the other end, and looked at how that all came together, and then also how to play in different situations, what it looks like in terms of when you have a lead, that happened in the Indiana game, we were in the third quarter and we asked our team at this point in time, do we need to take quick shots? No, we don't right now, because that advantages our opponent. Now, that wasn't necessarily the case in the Maryland game, but there certainly are things that you learn from one and you carry into the next about how to kind of complete a possession, how important baseline out of bounds defense is, how important taking care of the ball on the offensive end is, and how that impacts defensively. So certainly took a look at a lot of those type of decision-making things and how we can continue to get better. And I think what really has been important is that we have really some veterans that I think since that point in time, and I think really in the Indiana game, really took ownership of making sure that we played with a level of toughness that we're capable of playing with, and we didn't have that in the Maryland game at all times. And so now to figure out what that looks like for the entire time is really important, and I'm really proud of our young ladies for how they've responded from that.
We're going to talk about some individuals now. How important has Tori McKinney become for you? Speaking of that Maryland game, she didn't play the whole third quarter of that Maryland game. That's when they kind of got back in, but she can impact it in so many different ways.
She can, and I think Tori is someone who impacts it first and foremost on the defensive end. That's something that Tori's always been known for, something that she, in terms of picking up the ball. But again, we look back at different situations and talk about having a breakthrough. We're at the stage where it's time to have that breakthrough, and Tori is someone from a breakthrough moment, is someone who we need on the floor because of what she can do on the defensive end, on the ball, off the ball, rebounding the basketball, what she can do for us in transition offense, what she can do in a half court. All those type of things really come into play, how she can take the ball out of bounds and hit open shots, or she's a kid we can give the ball to and she can create a shot for someone else. But someone that we really need to be solid, and there are times because she's so aggressive that she gets in foul trouble too. And so what we talk a lot about is that breakthrough of sometimes you've got to let a possession go. It's okay for them to get this one, or maybe you have to slide underneath this ball screen and not get a foul, or whatever that looks like. And you know, that maturity is something I thought in the Indiana game she did a really nice job with that.
Well, to your point, I think she picked up her first foul in the fourth quarter, which actually had me kind of shook, because that usually she's playing aggressive defense, and 3 3-pointers on her birthday too last night, so that's not bad.
That was really special. That was really a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of players that we have to talk about. Some we're going to have to save for future episodes, but I want to talk about your 1,000 Point Club members now, Mar Bryan, Grace Groholski. What does an achievement like that mean for young players like that?
Well, I think it's something that, as a player, you know, certainly, and I think those two players in particular are 100% locked into doing whatever they need to do for our team to have success. They are just selfless young ladies. At the same time, as an individual, you spend a lot of time. They are in here all the time getting shots up. Constantly, it feels like. We had to kick them all probably today before we set up for the show. So to have an accomplishment where you're rewarded for doing the little things outside of practice, in practice, you know, it's just really special for them. And what's really neat about this group of young ladies is how excited their teammates are for them when they achieve some of those milestones.
Yeah, I saw when Grace Groholski made her 3 to get to that 1,000 Point Club. Mar Bryan was the first one up to congratulate her. So it just shows the camaraderie that you have with this young group. So speaking of camaraderie, their personality, we've spoken about orchestras and all those fun things. On the other side of the break, we're going to show you some pre-practice videos that really shows you the personality of this group, and also one of their overseas trip that kind of helped them bring that bond together. Stay with us on the Gopher Coaches Show. We'll be right back.
You're watching the Gopher Coaches Show.
Welcome back to the Gopher Coaches Show alongside head women's basketball coach Dawn Plitzuweit. Before I show you guys this video, I want to put you on the spot first. What is the makeup or personality that best describes your team this season?
The makeup of this team, I think they're fun. I think they're energetic. I think they can create their own fun. You know, Sophie Hart brings games on the plane, is playing games on the plane. I think they are a group that has their own little camaraderie, their own little jokes kind of that are going on during practices, before practices. Most of the time I look over and they're laughing. I'm thinking, I don't even know if I want to know, so I'm not really going to ask at that point in time. And you know, I'm right in the middle of telling a story about how you have to break through the sound barrier, and you have to fly at 767 miles, but then there's a 6-7 in there, and now I've lost them completely at that point in time. And so I would say they're competitively fun, but they're also pretty silly at the same time.
All right, so I want to show you guys what Coach is talking about right now because there are some pre-practice videos that they release, and I crack up laughing at them every time they drop one. So here's a little snippet of what the Gophers are like off the court.
Who's your top artist Spotify rap shared?
Oh, it was Drake. Well, Apple Music, but it was Drake.
I'm a podcast queen, so I'm going to go with Crime Junkie. That's usually what I listen to instead of music.
Morgan Wallen.
Morgan Wallen.
Wait, say all of yours.
Morgan Wallen, Taylor Swift, Megan Maroney, Tyler Childers, Hudson Westbrook.
Mine is crazy. Morgan Wallen, Riley Green, Megan Maroney, Drake, and then Zach Bryan.
Probably would have been like Morgan Wallen.
It was Billie Eilish. That was mine. I can't help it. But Hamilton was a close second.
Probably Riley Green. I listen to a lot of Riley Green, country music. Rod Wave. I have Rod Wave, Notorious Big, NBA Youngboy, Kalani, and SZA. Yep.
Morgan Wallen, Alex Warren, Megan Maroney, Tate McRae, and Luke Bryan.
Wow.
Wait, what is yours
Country.
again?
Morgan Wallen, Justin Bieber, Drake, SZA, and Tate McRae.
Oh, it's SZA. SZA and Fiji. Ooh.
It's a good poll.
Yeah, that is a great poll. Who on the team is most likely to text on my way while still getting ready? Kennedy, Lee, Cliff. Literally Tay, Nia, Tay or Nia, probably everybody.
Amaya, Tay, Nia.
Not right here.
Kennedy, Click.
She won't
Period.
even be. I could see him so many.
It would be Ty.
Or my good KK.
Maya, Tay, and Nia are together. That trio.
Oh, good. Mine makes it yeah. So people are say. Right here. It's most likely to text on my way while still getting there. Guilty. I could put myself in that category. I'm afraid from that. Usually, I'm texting on my way and not showing up. And you're not Probably me. But that's probably most of the time because I don't want to go. But you're honest. It is the same. I'll say on my way, TBD on my way. You would just straight up be like, I'm not coming. You wouldn't even try, which I appreciate. If you're not going to come, you might as well just say that.
Look, I am guilty for saying I am on my way, but I'm still not ready, probably haven't showered. So that's what your team was talking about right there. So based on your experience with them, who is the one player who will show up on time but last out of all the players?
Oh, I'm not answering that question. I'm not going down that path.
But there is an answer.
But there's definitely an answer, but I'm going to save that.
Maybe by the end of the year. I love the second video's moments before shoot around on a game day, and we see how funny that was. So. But they lock in pretty quickly thereafter. So take us through that.
Right, different coaches have very different philosophies, you know, of what your mentality needs to be. And ultimately, I believe that to play in your ideal performance state, your flow state, whatever you want to call it, is that you need to be really energized, but not too hyped up. But at the same time, you need to be relaxed. You have to be able to think clearly and calmly and composed. And so I, for one, am a coach who believes that I want our players to enjoy the moment, to smile and laugh, and then be gritty and kind of grind it out at the same time. And that's a balance to figure out how to do both of those. And I think this group is getting closer and closer to figuring out exactly what that looks like.
Speaking of flow state, I cringe to even show the next video, the next scene that we're going to take you behind, because the Gophers, in a non-conference schedule, you have an opportunity to go maybe play in some place other than Bloomington, Indiana, Minneapolis, Minnesota, West Lafayette, Indiana, not to pick on Indiana. But the Gophers, they did a non-conference tournament in the Bahamas. And in my mind, I'm still there.
Snorkeling, we're getting ready.
Trying to find the
I held it up there. I held it up there. You did it. Oh my God. 3, 2, 1.
What's up, everybody? My name's McKenna. I'm Zoe. Hey, we are currently in the Bahamas right now, and we just want to show you this beautiful sunset that is in the back. And yeah, living life out here.
Well, the other thing we should mention, there were actually basketball games played on that
Right,
trip.
that's exactly.
All of that was done before the basketball started. I was not able to make that boat ride, but that seemed like that was one of the highlights.
That was an incredible highlight. You know, as a coaching staff, as soon as we knew we were going to the Bahamas, and then we figured out the travel schedule and when games were at and how it all works together, then we looked at, well, we want to have some really special bonding trip, but you don't really want to wear them out before the game.
Right.
You know, so one of the options was take them to the water park. I was like, that's not a great option. So the catamaran is always something that's a lot of fun. Snorkeling was great. Watching Mara dive down and get a starfish and bring it up and have everyone kind of examine what the starfish looked like. We got done snorkeling. Then we had some snacks on the boat, and then a dance party ensued at that point in time. Had a great DJ, so a wonderful, wonderful bonding opportunity. Just an awful lot of fun.
Can I put you on the spot again? Who's the best dancer on the team?
Well, I think I won that award.
Did you win that one? All right.
There's a banner. There's a banner up here in the village.
But I pretended with the best of them and embarrassed myself really well. So, you know, I think there were a lot of these moments where they held their phones up. Yeah. And
so they'll show you in a couple years?
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be the case.
That typically happens with the kids
Yeah,
nowadays.
it was not pretty, but, you know, that's okay. It was kind of fun anyway.
A great bonding trip for the Gophers nonetheless. All right, now we have to burn one more of our TV timeouts, but when we return, we're talking about the conference slate and the upcoming games for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're watching the Gopher Coaches Show.
Welcome back to the Gopher Coaches Show. One final block here. Coach, about 4.5 minutes left in show. You guys got a gauntlet, I feel like, coming up now, heading into the Big Ten conference schedule. What's your mindset as you guys approach this back half of the season?
Well, we're in an interesting time right now because we've played our first game back after Christmas. You get 2 byes in the conference season. Our byes come at right now. One of them is right now, and one of them is for the last game of the regular season. And so this week is a really important week to focus a little bit on us, make sure that we're resting as much as possible, but we also had a rest during Christmas. And so balancing all of that out, and then also figuring out how can we prep early, can we prep ahead for some teams, because once we get into the next round of games when we start at Michigan, it is nonstop at that point in time until the end of February. So, and then the Big Ten is the best conference, I believe, in women's basketball. I think there are 9 teams as of this morning in the top 25 in terms of the net, and then, you know, it's nonstop. So it's going to be a challenge, but something that I believe with our veteran young ladies that we are as prepared as we can be.
Well, it seems like a group that has been waiting for this Big Ten season, right? Like, not to say that they want to just get through non-conference, because that's not true, but this is why they're here, right? To play in all these games.
Well, and I thought our game at Indiana last night was kind of a major growth period, showed growth for us. The last time we played at Indiana 2 years ago did not go our way. Pretty much the game was exactly opposite. Third quarter really separated the other direction, maybe a little bit earlier than that. But then, you know, to see this group really learning and growing and developing and playing with an incredible amount of toughness, you know, I think we gave up score opportunities in the first quarter, and then after that we really adjusted, and that's a tribute to our young ladies. They're the ones that have to do it.
Right.
Yeah. You can be a plan all you want to have a plan, but the bottom line is your players have to be the ones to carry it out, and this group really wants to do well, and they are really working hard.
I want to get ahead of it because I don't know if we'll talk before the home stretch. Obviously Michigan's on the road this Monday night, and then Northwestern on the 8th, and then the California schools come to town. There's that 3-game stretch at home where some big-time opponents are coming to the barn, and I imagine you'd appreciate a good environment at that game, at those games.
That would be incredible, wouldn't it? Yeah, that would certainly be really, really special. It starts with, obviously, we go on the road at at Michigan, then we're home against Northwestern, then we have USC, UCLA, and then we go to the West Coast. And so it's jammed in there, and that's exactly why I appreciate you making this work, because one of our coaches' shows was right in the middle of all of that too. And so certainly appreciate the flexibility that you have with
You'd rather not talk to, you'd rather prepare for Lauren Betts as opposed to talking for us in UCLA?
That's
better use of your time that week? I got it.
Look, I understand. There's a lot of film. There's a lot of things, a lot of boxes to check. Coach, what can games like UCLA, USC coming to the Barn do for your program in regards to recruiting and whatnot?
Well, I think you're taking on two programs, and those in particular that are our national brands and our national names, and are right now in the top 25 in the country, and I think whatever they are, 20, and I don't know where UCLA is 4 at this point in time. So you're taking on some programs that when you learn how to compete against those type of teams, then you're in a spot where you can become one of those national brands as well. And so we're building our program to be in that capacity. But first you got to figure all those other things out at the same time.
Right. Coach, 1 minute left in show. I just want to get your overall thoughts on this season and what it's going to take from your team to get over that hump. Last year you guys won the WBIT tournament after the season. What's it going to take for you guys to get to the NCAA tournament and kind of make a name for yourself like you were just talking about?
Well, I think ultimately consistency is really important. Toughness is really important for us. And the veterans that we have in our program are going to have to be the ones that take that and run with it. And what was a great sign for us is the second quarter of the game on the road at Drake, and it's a lot harder to do on the road. Those young ladies did that, and then certainly I thought in Indiana did the same thing. So we see that the momentum is growing, that we're getting better all the time, and that's really what this takes.
All right, right now the Gophers are 10-3, take on Michigan up next, and then they have a big home stretch that I'm sure Coach Plitzuweit wants to see all of you at the Barn for. So that'll do it for our Gopher Coaches Show. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Have a great